Legendary baseball player Darryl Strawberry and his wife Tracy admit they've made almost every possible mistake in their marriage. They have faced adultery, addiction, and financial destruction. Through their faith, they saw God turn things around. In their book, The Imperfect Marriage, Darryl and Tracy share principles they've learned to help you understand key issues and save your relationship. I want to start with you, Darryl, because one of the things that stood out the most to me in the book is that a lot of times couples meet, and it's love at first sight. But you say it wasn't love at first sight, it was lost at first sight. Why do you say that?
A lot of times when two people meet together, the baggage is coming, and you don't know his baggage, she don't know your baggage, but me and Tracy, we kind of knew each other, had some luggage there, but I think my luggage was just a little bit heavier than hers at the time. But I realized that in relationships, you're going to come and you're going to have some struggles and some issues that you're going to have to overcome. Can you endure? And that's why I said it was lost at first sight.
You know, in the book, you say two very important things in terms of this journey are working with me and working with we. So let's start with working with me, because when I read the book, I realized that I didn't know as much as I thought I knew. So I'm going to read a little excerpt from it, and where you talk about preconceived notions and these unrealistic assumptions we make about marriage. Tracy, you said, I know how my husband will be. I will arrive home, and he will take me out to dinner, not expecting me to cook after how hard I've worked all day. After we come home, I will pop my hair into a ponytail and slip into my baggy sweatpants, get comfy, and light a fire. So that's what you expected when you got married.
Absolutely. The Cinderella story, the romance story. This is that assumption of coming into a marriage of my husband is going to complete me. My spouse is going to complete me. They're going to be the center of my all and just serve me and be everything I need them to be. It's a very selfish perspective, and it's a very dangerous perspective. That's not reality. My wholeness in God is what makes me a better half to my husband. He is not my everything. He is not my whole. My source is God. So God has a plan for marriage, very distinct. And when we try to guess what that should be, or we come in with a worldly assumption of what marriage should look like, we're in trouble. We set ourselves up for failure. God has a perfect plan. It's written in His Word, and we need His power to carry it out.
Yeah, His plan is definitely different from ours. Now, Darryl, your expectations were completely opposite of hers. So I'll read what you say. I just know how my wife will be. She will not be one of those women who comes home from work and throws on baggy sweatpants and puts her hair in a ponytail. She will meet me at the front door in the hottest lingerie my mind could imagine, presenting my home-cooked 3-course meal. Complete opposite of what she said.
What is totally opposite, because men think different than women. And our reality is we live in this fantasy, and we have to get out of that fantasy. I think it's a worldly fantasy that we live in, that's how I should be greeted, you know, coming home. And that's not the reality. We have to live in the power of God to be able to walk in the righteousness of who God is in our life. And that's what brings the wholeness of a marriage. We look for too many fantasies and different realities in our head that keeps us sick and keeps you toxic. And it doesn't allow you to walk into a man with character and integrity. I think those are the most important thing that we have to learn about God. God brings that in you. When you allow God to make you whole inside, you don't need fantasies. You know, you go home and you see your wife in ponytails and sweats, and you happy, you still content. See, today I'm content with seeing my wife like that. But I think when I was a worldly man, it wasn't like that. I think I was looking for all these worldly things to fill me, and they never fulfill you to the place where happiness is there, because the flesh want more. And once you learn that the flesh is no longer operating and you're operating in the spirit, then you're content. And that's the reality of what we have to live in as a man.
Very important to working on me, but let's talk about working on we, meaning working on the marriage together. I think one of the things that I really got from that section of the book is that there's a lot of give and take. And there were some specific points that you made about how do you really go through this process of working on we. What was the most difficult thing for you in terms of, we talk about trust and temptation and all of those. What was the most difficult one for you, and how did you work through that?
Well, for us, since we struggled with adultery, addiction, so many things, our trust was shattered It was non-existent. So rebuilding that trust, there's a whole chapter dedicated in there to that. And along with building that trust, you go into another chapter, which is called temptation, which there's so much of it in this world today. Social media, the presence. We've lost the fear of the Lord in our world today. Anything goes. We'll put anything out there. Social media, Christians included, walking in the power and the strength and the reflection of the Lord. So we safeguard our marriages. That was very important to us. And it needs to be brought back, the fear of the Lord in there and the reflection of who God is. Guarding yourselves. You can be strong in the Word. You can pray. Adam and Eve fell not because they had character defects, not because they didn't have a prayer life, not because they didn't hear the direct word of the Lord, but because of temptation. It's very difficult. We have to safeguard our marriages from temptation today and be very mindful of that.
Temptation is so real and it's so out there. It's an open door. And the devil, he just waits for you to walk through there. He knows you're a Christian. And Christians, don't pay attention. I think they walk through doors that they have no business walking through doors. And we've learned that. We've learned not to walk through doors that are temptations. We learn how to safeguard our marriage. We learn not to set ourselves up, because it's real easy to set yourself up for the failure, because the failure is going to come when you set yourself up.
So now, Tracy, somebody's probably watching thinking, okay, I hear a lot about we're talking about working together, but there may be someone whose spouse is not working with them. They've given up, they've walked away, or whatever. In the book, you call it a spouse in waiting. What is your advice to someone who they're giving their all, they're trying to make it work, but they have a spouse who's checked out?
Yes, I have a whole chapter devoted to this because I was that spouse for a long time. That is such a painful place. But what I write about in this chapter is how to pick yourself up, how to love them and not leave them, how to create boundaries for yourself, how to check back into your life. When your spouse has checked out, you just keep on going. And there's a very encouraging chapter in there called The Spouse in Waiting. Those different steps, you keep going on with the plan of God in your life. I stayed faithful, but someone out there needs to know that. I had to let go and let God and surrender Darryl to God, but continue on in my plan. Stop covering up, stop cleaning up, and stop trying to change him. Release yourself from that.